1026. Objection to the consideration of a question. The purpose of an objection to the consideration of a question is to enable the assembly to avoid a particular original main motion altogether when it believes it would be strongly undesirable for the motion even to come before the assembly. Standard descriptive characteristics. An objection to the consideration of a question 1. Takes precedence over original main motions and over an unstated subsidiary motion except lay on the table. The objection can be raised only before there has been any debate or any subsidiary motion except lay on the table has been stated by the chair. Thereafter, consideration of the main question has begun, and it is too late to object. It does not take precedence over any pending subsidiary motion, yields to the motion to lay on the table, to all privileged motions, and to incidental motions arising out of itself. 2. Can be applied to original main motions 10.3 and to petitions and communications that are not from a superior body. It cannot be applied to incidental main motions. No subsidiary motion can be applied to it alone, though while it is pending, the main question can be laid on the table, and the objection then goes to the table with the main question. 3 is in order when another has the floor until consideration of the question has begun, as indicated in standard characteristic 1 above. 4 does not require a second. 5 is not debatable, with C 43, 31 through 32 regarding allowable explanation of an undebatable motion. 6 is not amendable. 7, 2/3 vote against consideration is required to sustain the objection. And 8, a negative vote, that is a vote sustaining the objection, can be reconsidered, but not an affirmative vote. Further rules and explanation. Resemblance to point of order. An objection to the consideration of a question is similar in some ways to a point of order. The presiding officer, on his own initiative, can submit his objection of this kind to a vote, just as he can raise a question of order on his own accord. An objection to the consideration of a question is not used if a main motion is outside the society's objects as defined in the bylaws or constitution, or outside the announced purpose for which a mass meeting has been called. Such a motion is not in order unless the assembly, by a 2/3 vote in the affirmative, authorizes its introduction. 1026-2. Difference from objection in other contexts. Objection to the consideration of a question should not be confused with an objection to a request for unanimous consent. See 458 through 63. Effect of the objection. If an objection to consideration is sustained, the main motion is dismissed for that session and cannot be renewed during the same session except by unanimous consent or by reconsideration of a vote on the objection. If the objection is not sustained, consideration of the main motion proceeds as if no objection had been made. Even if this objection is sustained, the same main motion can be introduced at any succeeding session. Reconsideration of a vote that has sustained the objection. As noted in Standard Characteristic 8, a vote sustaining an objection to consideration can be reconsidered. The vote to reconsider such a vote is undebatable and requires a majority vote for its adoption, and it can be taken up or called up only when no other motion is pending. If the motion to reconsider is adopted, it is also presumed to have overturned the objection, and the chair immediately states the question on the main motion whose consideration had been objected to without again putting the objection to a vote. The reason for this abbreviated procedure is that only the members who wish to consider the main question would vote to reconsider the objection to its consideration. Consequently, if a majority have voted for consideration of the objection, this implies that there are less than 2/3 who wish to prevent consideration of the main question. Manner of putting the question. When the objection is put to a vote in its current form, see form and example below, members are asked to vote for or against consideration of the question objected to, not for or against sustaining the objection. Therefore, those who wish to prevent consideration of the question vote in the negative. The objection is sustained if there are at least twice as many negative as affirmative votes. Form an example. A member rises, even if another has been assigned the floor, and without waiting to be recognized, addresses the chair as follows. Member A. Mr. President, I object to the consideration of the question, or resolution, or motion, etc. The chair responds, the consideration of the question is objected to. Shall the question be considered? Those in favor of considering it rise. Be seated. Those opposed to considering the question rise. Be seated. There are 2/3 opposed, and the question will not be considered. Or if the objection is not sustained, the announcement of the vote may be worded as follows. There are less than 2/3 opposed, and the objection is not sustained. The question is on the resolution resolved that. In putting the objection to vote, the chair must be careful not to say, shall the objection be sustained. This would reverse the effect of affirmative and negative votes and might cause confusion.